I don't know, you'll just have to leave. All right, Bryce is here, we can start. All right, at this time I'd like to call to order our Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. We're going to have Mr. Logan lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Logan. Before we approve the agenda, I'd like to add on there CRA plan update. If we could just add it, we can do it after the 6.2 quarterly update before adjournment.
Motion
Jeff, do you want us to second a motion that, or are we just adding it from the chairman perspective?
We can get an update after the discussion.
Okay.
Sure. So,
All right.
Motion to approve the amendment?
All right, and it passes unanimously 6-0 with Mr. Allegretto on his way. Now we need to approve the minutes, 4.1, the Community Redevelopment Agency regular meeting minutes from our March 12th, 2024 meeting.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Mead.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Mead, second by Mr. Jeter. Mr. Mead? Mr. Jeter?
That's it.
Anyone else? Let's do it. All right, passes unanimously. Public comments. Ms. Candace or any others? Any public comments? Seeing none. We're down to 6, action, direction, discussion. I'm going to toss this to Mr. Fazzetti with our 2024 CRA quarterly update report.
So I'm going to pass it over to Elizabeth.
Let's do it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do want to apologize for not being at the last meeting. I got sick at the last minute, and I appreciate Chris Rossetti filling in for me. So I apologize for that. So we need to go to the PowerPoint. Okay, yeah, this is our quarterly report for June. So I'm just going to review what we've done so far, what we're doing, and where we're going. There we go. As y'all know, we have established the stakeholder quarterly meetings. First meeting was great. Second meeting was even attended more. Our focus was on Carson Drive safety. And fortunately, we had several staff members show up and answer some questions. We talked to them about the completed projects, which was the nuisance abatement grant that we provided for a property cleanup, the lighting improvements that Florida Power and Light have done, the cul-de-sac cleanup that the city did and cleaned it up. And it still looks good. There's still some occasional stuff, but they're keeping it good and clean. And then with the landscaping and everything, they also cut down a bush that was considered entrapment area and a dead tree that cut it in half and cleaned it up some. So one of the main things we wanted to talk to them about was some traffic controlling options. And the two main ones that have been expressed was making the 3rd and Carson a 4-way stop. So we wanted the public's opinion on that, see what they thought. They loved it. They said, definitely, let's do it. And then we talked to them about speed bumps. I was thinking 2, but Public Works has suggested 1. They said 1 is good enough. They even suggested further down toward the cul-de-sac. I thought it would have been further up, but from what the community has observed, excuse me, my phone. Everybody turn off your phones. So what the community had observed, and I wanted to hear from them, where was the best location for the speed bump? And they did say kind of closer to the cul-de-sac, because that's when they speed down and zoom back out. So we had marked on there, and you can see kind of up there in the picture, the top right picture, part where they wanted the speed bump to go. So Chris Rossetti answered a few questions regarding code enforcement on violations. I did have some questions about the process when codes are violated. What's the process? He gave them the process and really helped them understand how it works and why sometimes it takes a little while. We addressed the feeding programs for the homeless and about how it's causing problems in surrounding areas. That there was a couple there that come and actually help feed them, and that's fine, and I appreciate that. But I also addressed that, you know, they're leaving trash, and even though the Catholic Charities feeds them, it's great, but they won't let them stay on their property, so they go to surrounding properties and leave their trash in surrounding properties. ADSO is one of them, and that's what one of the concerns were, and that's what we addressed on that one. And we also addressed the community safety and the new policing program, which Mayor Hayes is going to talk about in a little bit. But Officer Carter was there and helped them with some of the answers that they had and questions they had. He addressed some of the questions on that. Any questions so far on this one? Yes, sir.
Going back to the feeding the homeless, are you getting help from anybody else to tackle that?
It's a slippery slope. I know what I'd like to do, but that's kind of main thing I can do is deter them from going to surrounding areas and deter them from leaving their trash. I don't have a definite solution. I'm willing to do anything we can do.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think anybody has a definite solution, but I know we just had a meeting with, you know, Ted at the chamber, you know, a few weeks or months back, whatever, and even Bonnie, and they're moving towards helping us on First Street. It sounds like, right? To try to eliminate the blight and the feeding, all that kind of stuff. So just curious if you've heard from them or you've reached out to them. Is anyone helping you? Or can we tackle that together? Because it sounds like
who, if y'all want me to reach out to somebody, I gladly will. I will say this, and I was kind of happy about it. I wanted to go around and get some pictures of the homeless around lunchtime. I couldn't find any. I was like, this is good. So I was quite, it was a Monday, so I'm like, well, maybe they don't feed them, I don't know, but I could not find any hanging out on First Street on Monday, and I've been up and down it, and it does seem to be a lot less.
that's what they said they're moving towards, so that's awesome. That's good to hear.
That's what we want to hear. I mean, like I said, there's no one definite solution overnight, but progress is what we need to see.
Yeah, very good.
And let me know if there's anybody you want me to talk to or address. I'm here. That's what I want to do.
Got it.
Any more questions?
Yeah, the solution, and kind of piggybacking off that, and maybe Major Hayes might have some more information to add, but how is it working with those partners, whether it's Bridgeway or our public safety, on after they're leaving those feeding programs and are kind of lingering around on corners and issues where they might not be breaking any laws,
No, yeah.
but coordinating with our new job category, with our new resources of just trying to help figure out if they need more support,
Yes.
or if they're truly homeless, or if they're just lingering, just some of the command presence. Have you seen much more of that?
I haven't personally received anything. I do know that in the next budget, I have talked with Officer Carter. He brought up a wonderful program, a busing program, and we have put in the budget, and we're working with him on an application where if people want to leave and they're down here and they can't afford it, we have actually put in the next budget funding to help pay for bus tickets, one-way bus tickets, but there's an application and there's a process we got to go through for that. That's one thing that I have worked with them on. I have not received or worked with anybody else or heard from anybody else regarding anything further. And Officer Hayes is here. If y'all want him to, he's going to talk a little bit toward the end about the program.
Okay.
So he can address it then or now. It's up to y'all.
Awesome, we're good. Let's continue.
Okay, right, thank you. Anything else?
I just while we're here, we're asking questions about it. And then it's forthcoming, I just haven't seen it here. I know the lighting and there were possibly cameras were discussed along that person, and then also at this gazebo, I see lighting that I think is on border. Are cameras going in there?
I am addressing that. That is coming up. It is in the site analysis of Sound Park, and it's actually my next point where I'm going to be from Sound
I
Park.
thought we approved that in
It's still, we're gonna address it, yes, sir. I'm gonna tell you exactly where we are and where we're going on
Oh,
that.
okay.
We have moved forward, we're just in the process, and I will let you know where we're at. So, yes, sir.
All right.
Anything else?
No other questions, let's continue.
Okay, thank you. All right, so our next one is, what am I doing here? Todd? There it is, okay, all right. So the next one is Sound Park, and I did put on here, we tried to put it in the packet, but it did not copy well. I went back and found out why. There were some formatting issues. So I did provide y'all a copy of the site analysis that I did do for Sound Park. I think it's like, if y'all see, it's I think 15 or 17 pages, and that is us on your desk. And we, at the site analysis, so the purpose of the analysis, of course, was to discourage negative activity, but also encourage the normal activity of normal users again. And we all know that normal users were not going to the park because of the negative activity. The first thing we did the lighting analysis, and it did reveal that all the light there in the park is insufficient for the IES standards. So that is actually, the lights have been ordered. We are working on the lights, and they will match the ones going in at the landing. So all 16 lights in the park will be replaced with brighter lighting for the IES standards. So the site analysis did determine the cause for the negative activity, established maintenance needed, and suggested areas for improvement. We also have, because the park was kind of donated, bought for very little bit of money from the Florida Trust, Communities Trust Stewardship, they are requiring a report of the park and what all we're doing. I am working on that report with the other department heads to get the information they need, and we will be providing them with all the upgrades as required by the trust. Okay, so what we started with, which one am I? There we go. I'll hold it the left leg down. Okay, we started with the gazebo. As y'all, so as you know, the gazebo, one of the biggest problems with the gazebo, as we saw, and I did my analysis, was the benches. The benches gave them a place to sleep, lay their stuff, hang out. When I first got here, I went and looked over at Sound Park, and I was actually followed by somebody out on the pier. He was asking me why I was there, what was I doing. There was a whole bunch of them hanging out in the gazebo. So it was kind of obvious, and as you can tell by these pictures, that the gazebo was the main problem, and that was the benches. There was litter left there, there's graffiti on the poles, it was just in really bad shape. The light in the gazebo didn't even work. So the benches were broken, the poles were covered in graffiti, and it was an encampment area. So what we went in and did, let me see something. Next. Okay. So our wonderful team, those guys, I just told them, let's do, and they did. They went out there and they removed the damaged benches. Well, when we removed the damaged benches, we realized that the poles were not actually standard and were not up to par to hold up that heavy roof. So we had to actually go in and replace the poles, the support beams. So they went in, replaced the support beams, and gave it a more solid structure. And with the benches gone, it has dramatically, there's really the only problem there now is the ducks and what they like to leave behind when they're walking around. I will say that. So, but there has been no more litter. I actually went over there and spoke to the lady that cleans it up, and she was like, oh, massive difference. She said, it doesn't take me half as long over here to clean up the park. It is great. She was very appreciative of the work done. No more encampments that we have seen there. And it's just visibly noticeable, decrease in the negative activity and positive activities over there also. Okay, next. Now, we had a wonderful Earth Day. I reached out to Kelly Kramer with the Keep Okaloosa Beautiful and told her about the park and about how it is set up, and the purpose for the park is to feature our natural fauna in the area. The park is a residual activity park. It's not supposed to have massive activity. The purpose of it is supposed to be educational and preserve our natural resources. So when I talked to her about it, she was like, oh, I can get some volunteers together and we'll put some plants in there. And I'm learning to take Kaylee at her word, because she got 26 volunteers, one of them which is in the room. Thank you, Ms. Berry. And they went out there, she bought the plants, and we had expected to be there for like 6 hours. I think within an hour, everything was planted because there was so many volunteers. And it was a great day. We had Master Gardeners team. There's a Master Gardeners area. And they came out and explained the plants and explained the care of the plants and what is needed, and even talked a little bit about our natural indigenous foliage in the area. So it's beautiful. It's going to take a while for it to grow. The Parks Department even went out there and made some improvements to the irrigation system to make sure that they get plenty of water. And so it was a great day, perfect weather. We were so excited. So I appreciate everybody coming there. All right, next. I'm just gonna. I think that's it, yeah. So, and your question about the security cameras. So, of course, we have met with a couple of companies and discussed with a couple of companies the security cameras for not just Sound Park. Sound Park is going to be our pilot program, but we're looking at, and it's taken a while to kind of decide because we're not just doing it for that area. As we move forward with set-top programs, security cameras are going to be required in several areas. So we wanted to make sure that our due diligence to get the right system. I'll be honest with you, both systems were very compatible with what we required and what we were looking for. Fortunately, our wonderful IT team helped me with this because, like I said, I have a saying, I am job security for the IT team. So fortunately, we met a lot with them and discussed the options and what was needed. And we discussed warranties, the viewing range, whether to lease or purchase the products, the data storage and information protection, and installation and maintenance, how it's going to be. One of the key things that helped us make our decision is maintenance and installation, and that was very important to us. But there was also purchasing and lease, so we had to look at several options. And the bulk discounts and how it's going to affect our budget, we had to look at that. What were the costs on the budget on an annual basis? And also cellular monthly charges. Each camera is going to require cellular. So we had to determine not just the camera cost, not just installation cost, not just maintenance and repair, but every camera is going to require a monthly charge of $36 on our bill, on our budget, because it has to have cellular to communicate the information. So, if I'm not mistaken, on the internal ones, I've got the IT here because I told them, please tell me if you have questions. On the internal ones, we're not going to need the cellular information. Okay, so if we do any internal that can be connected, they can put a device inside the building where it doesn't have to have cellular, but the ones in the parks and far away from buildings will need cellular. Any questions on that?
Yes, on the site analysis that was done in May and the lighting, it had, recommended lighting upgrades are needed.
Yes.
What is the expected period of performance on executing those lighting upgrades?
Okay, the lights have been ordered. We're just waiting on them to come in. And I think the cost, oh my gosh, I should have brought the cost. The cost on that, I think, Chris, do you remember this? About $45,000 for 16 lights.
So right now, we're waiting on the delivery of product.
Yes, sir.
Do we have anything on schedule with our team, or coordinating with other public works, or anything that we need to do on executing that lighting upgrade?
Tiffany and I are working closely on making sure everything is ordered. She helped me with ordering because it's the same one she got for the landing. So we are working with everybody to make sure when they are in that we can get them installed.
Because I'm aware we have a lot of projects going on all at the
Yes,
same
we do.
time. I'm just trying to get to any specifics on if we have some things programmed in the scheduling, but you're working closely with Tiffany's. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
And I will reiterate with them and check on when expected delivery. It's going to take a little while for them to come in. I'll be honest with you, it's been a while since I've seen the actual delivery date. So I will review that and make sure that we schedule everybody at that time.
Okay.
So thank you. That is something I need to do.
Mr. Berry?
Yes, is this only for CRA area or is it throughout the city?
Oh, is what?
The cameras, the security cameras.
The cameras, okay, so how that's going to work, it depends on the area. If it's in CRA, it's going to come out of a CRA set-TED bucket of money. If they're going to be outside of the CRA, they're going to have to come out of a city-funded set-TED bucket of money. So that CRA cannot pay for anything outside of the CRA district, but it can come out. So in the CRA, we have established a bucket of money for these improvements, and every year, and that's why with the cameras, I really need to know every year what our money is gonna need to be on these cameras and estimate how many we might need so I can put it in the budget.
This will be a good pilot program for us too, because a lot of the cameras you can pull up on your phones and things like that. So once we find a good solid camera system for Sound Park, we utilize that at the landing during that construction, but we can also, out of the general fund, get those at Ferry Park and some other locations as well.
That's my next question. I'm looking at some parks that are not in the CRA area that direly need your expertise as a SEPTED certified person to help what you do with SEPTED.
And I appreciate that. The city has made an adjustment for that. So since I cannot, my work outside the CRA cannot be paid for the CRA. So we have worked something within the budget to, I'm going to record any hours that I do outside the CRA, and we're just going to split those hours through the city. Yes.
Thank you. That's
So
what
I
I
can,
wanted to hear.
the city did work to, finance and Jeff worked to make sure I can do that outside of the city. Because the Ferry Park is not in the city, and it desperately needs some work too. So
Not
yes, we
inside
have.
the CRA.
Not in the CRA.
I'm sorry, CRA, yeah.
Mr. Mead?
That's going to my question. I know this is not within the CRA, but along that same line, the lighting needs at Ferry Park. Hoping that now that we have the mechanism to pull the funds from the general fund, that you can do an analysis over there, especially in the walking trail and the parts that folks utilize during the evening.
And that's something y'all gonna have to consider. I can do the analysis, but to implement the recommendations are costly. So that's something y'all are gonna have to think about in the budget on that aspect.
And I'm happy to ask this again during the regular meeting, an hour or so, but that is something that I know we've mentioned and I would like to see moving forward is the analysis so that we can then bring back a cost estimate to add the additional lighting over there. I don't think there's ever been any objection to that.
There hasn't, and I believe in the past couple meetings, we've been sharing some of this similar
Yes.
scope and narrative. So I guess now we're asking you, what is it that you need, cost-wise, resources-wise,
Yeah.
to execute some of these things that have been brought up the past couple meetings on lighting and cameras, both outside of CRA SEPTED as well as inside the CRA SEPTED. So what is that you need?
What I need is time. Like I said, these take a lot of time, and I have to, like, when I do the lighting analysis, they're at night. I have to go at night, and the police department is when all I can do is ask them, can you come with me, I need to do these, and they're right there with me. Yes, what day do you want? The main thing I need is assistance with the police, which I fully get, 100%. And the analysis is, like I said, the analysis are great, but it's going to cost money. These lights are expensive. These cameras are expensive. We have also, we're addressing, and I will talk about it, when I do a SEPTED analysis of a park, or of any, we're working on the city facilities right now. That's what I really want to focus on. To implement this work, because maintenance is a big part of it. Our staff is already overloaded with work.
Well, and that's why, again, whether it's not to get too much in the weeds, but funding for contractors or the collaboration, because like you said, you need time,
Yes.
and time is money, and it's going to be costly. But I think in the past couple CRA meetings, we'll continue to drive home the cameras and the lights, and again, you'll always need more time. So again, I know you're the maintenance and you're gathering all this information to try to do all these different programs, but if it is more funding, because funding is time, feel free at the next meeting, or if we need to have one before the next quarterly meeting, of a proposal of what it would cost to contract out work with the county or other agencies that you're familiar with to execute these lighting and camera programs. I think
I
we're on board.
appreciate that, because we've talked about it, how we want to do it. Do we want to do it as a contract basis, or do we want to hire another individual that works for the city? The SEPTED work, as we get moving forward, will keep one person busy full throughout the week, because maintenance is a major issue. Cleanup is a major issue. It's not just installation, it's maintenance. And that, a lot of it is an issue. So yes, and I appreciate that. I will definitely pull together an estimate.
Yeah, bring us back a proposal, because like you said, it's comprehensive. It's not just the installation, but it's the maintaining, it's the software. But any more questions on that conversation? Mr.
Yeah,
Walker?
just, we talked about the cost of the lights and the cameras, and who's gonna be monitoring these cameras?
It's going through the police department, through their, the way we've got it worked out, it's all still gonna be through the police, but we can also look at them. There's gonna be an app where you can pull up, and we wanted the analytics where you could even put in there, and we specifically talked about this the other day. For an example, I know of a certain person that does a certain, or was doing a certain inappropriate act at Sound Park, and we could easily put in there, let us know when this person is in that park. And it will immediately notify us and let us know this person's there. So we can put it with the police and say, anytime you get a notification for this, please send the police out. So there's several things on the analytics part that's really wonderful on this that will help in several aspects.
So there's not someone sitting in an office somewhere watching numerous feeds from, 10 cameras or 50 cameras. It's gonna be monitored by the officers that are on patrol in that zone or area?
It's going to be monitored through the police department where they monitor all the cameras. And we can, there's a 30-day recording. So if something happens, we'll be able to, okay, let's pull up that recording. And we can also ask them, okay, we're having a problem this time. And for an example, if somebody says, there was a problem in this area at this time, then we can say, all right, let's focus on that time in that area and see what happens. If every Monday night there is some activity, then we can put it up and pull it up. So there's several options. It's going to be several things, but no, there's not. I'm not looking at hiring a person to just sit here and stare at cameras.
Right, and I didn't know if it was you or the police department would need an extra body to monitor the cameras.
Yeah, and that would be a great question to ask the police. Okay, so that's their world, and they know what they've got, what they can provide, and I don't want to jump in a world I'm not aware of. I just am saying the cameras will be providing this information, and we can pull it up if we need it.
Mr. Allegretto?
Ms. Burleson, thank you. Always love when you come in these CRA meetings and love talking this SEPTED. It's a very popular program. I appreciate what you do. I wish we had 3 of you to be able to
There's
do
a lot of
this.
people who disagree with you on that. Don't want to me.
Because we love it, and I share a lot of the statements that have been made up here tonight with wanting to move forward with some additional lighting and some things outside of the CRA districts, and I'm glad that Mr. Peters and the staff have been able to work out some things to compensate you fairly for that, so that you can provide that stuff to us and get that to us as soon as possible. I just kind of really wanted to make a statement as well, if you'll allow me, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman, and maybe not even a question necessarily, but love moving forward with these lightings, love moving forward with the, as part of the SEPTED, trimming back the bushes and the things that are great places for people to hide. I really like the idea of using Sound Park as a pilot program, as Mr. Peters said, for a camera system, and giving that kind of a trial run of maybe a year before we start going kind of crazy with putting cameras up everywhere in all our city's parks. I really kind of want to see how that goes, because what goes on in Sound Park, or what has gone on in Sound Park, is probably a lot different than what goes on in a lot of the other parks. And I don't want our city to all of a sudden feel like Big Brother is nonstop watching all the time, everything you're doing and every move you're making. I do like the idea of being able to go back and find who spray painted the obscenity on the side of the building, absolutely. And when the cameras are limited in scope and when they're limited in use of who's able to see them, and that's mainly restricted to law enforcement officers, and we know that, then that's great, but that's why it would be great to try this out in a 1-year test program to see how we run this, see how it operates, see what bugs are available that IT can work through, that we can work through with this company, etc. Because really the bulk of everything here is we want to be safer as a community. We want to eliminate any dangerous areas that make our city residents feel unsafe, our visitors feel unsafe, our business owners feel unsafe. It's not to catch every minor indiscretion of who was walking their dog off the leash, in the park. Although I know some people might want to use them for that. That's not really what we want. At least I don't think that's what our community wants. It might be what the loudest 3 or 4 voices want, but it's not really what the community as a whole wants. So I think we should really start with that in Sound Park, see what happens, and then go from there and see how everything works out.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Michelle Allegretto. I kind of couch it as this. I think these resources that we're reviewing need to be geared towards, and are geared towards, and completely agree if we call this phase one of the lighting camera programming, but really highlighting and preserving our strategic goal, our number one plan of public safety vagrancy. And if we can highlight, was it crime prevention through environmental design, and the lighting side is highlighting that, and the camera side is keeping the accountability of law and order, and while still, I think we're all sensitive to the concerns of what different people want to do with children and different things that go on in our parks that aren't always good. We're going to have those. We're going to have those concerns for sure. But yeah, keep moving forward with Sound Park, and again, bringing us back a cost proposal to help deliver this, or to execute this deliverable. Any other questions,
I do.
Mr. Meade?
I think the last time we met with you was in December of 2023, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think all of us kind of nodded that we needed more lights at Ferry Park. And so now we're going to maybe come back again in 6 months to see if we
No.
need more lights at Ferry
No,
Park.
we can jump on Ferry Park.
Okay. I'm just making sure that I'll be gone in less than a year, and I would like, and I'm not being facetious. I'm not making a joke. If there's something else that I need to say, which is I would like to have something 30 days from now that gives I'm not asking for a full analysis of Ferry Park, but I think that's a pretty basic need that we have. But when the winter starts coming, it gets dark early. A lot of people utilize it. So what do I need to request to say, please give us an idea of what it would cost to add an extra light in between the existing lights? If it's an FPL that we lease, or if it's something we install and maintain.
We're actually in the process now, as you guys know, doing the fitness court and the pickleball courts over at Ferry Park, which includes having some LED fixtures shining up the basketball court a lot better, and the fitness court area, and there's all LED, there's 8 LED light poles that'll be at the pickleball courts too, which will brighten it up quite a bit. However, there are new poles around Ferry Park, so we'll check the actual lights and just see if we can get a brighter LED fixture, just to see if that helps the first step, but we can do that immediately.
Sounds great.
I'm sorry, because I do want to address something, and it's something I want to emphasize, in that with SEPTED, security cameras are really not a major emphasis on SEPTED. Because I said, if we can increase the lighting, make the landscaping better where people can be seen and clean it up, and make sure the facilities, the environment is good and clean, where there's not any ambush zones and not any dark areas. That's the main focus of SEPTED, not security cameras. They very little touched on security cameras because that's covered in a lot of stuff with what the police do. So SEPTED mainly does the environment build up and improvements in cleaning. So you're 100% correct. The cameras are just an added possibility if there is an area of concern. That would be where after you clean it up and it's like, well, we've got this area of concern of criminal activity, then that's where we would put in a camera. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Anything else on that? Okay, you want to go to the next? Okay, so I'm going to, the Officer Hayes is going to talk about this. This is their baby, and I just think it's best that they talk about their baby. So he's going to address their program with y'all.
Hello. I was asked to speak on the, specifically on the detail that y'all approved in the past for the community policing unit, as well as the CRA area detail off-duty. So far, it's been very successful. We're working 4 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday during the daytime, Friday, Saturday at night, and they've really made an impact down there, I believe. Very visible. Their sole duty is to clean it up, make contact with the vagrants, and move them along. But in that process, they've also stop crimes such as burglars in progress, thefts, I don't know what it's called now, but it was a Circle K. And overall, it's been a successful program, so I'm just here to answer any questions you get about that. Mr. Allegretti.
Thank you, Major. Have you noticed, just as somebody who is about downtown every now and again, and just throughout the general area of the city limits, have you really noticed, because I feel like I have noticed a really strong decline in seeing vagrants and panhandlers, at least within our city limits, but I have noticed a major increase in seeing them just outside of our city limits. Is that something that
That's common.
you guys have noticed?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed on my way home, every day I'm at Perry and 98, and every day I was calling in, hey, come down here, and I haven't had to call for quite a while. There's new ones coming in, and we go ahead and introduce ourselves to them and move them along, but some of them will leave the area, but a lot of them, they'll go somewhere, so they're going outside of our jurisdiction. I've seen them in a lot of places I haven't seen them before, up in the county area. I guess you could call that a measure of success, I'm not sure, but,
Somewhat, and
Yeah.
that, I was kind of asking that to ask you a follow-up question, because, I know that we have a strange map with our city, and we have the little enclave of Cinco Bayou
Right.
within our city, and that's a place that I've really noticed a lot of vagrancy activity in the last several months. And I know the sheriff's office is a larger organization than our police department. I know they have more resources, but I also know they have more land to cover and more, crimes to deal with. Is that something that you guys coordinate with them on? Is that something that you can, is there a contact there that you say, hey, look, we're really trying to push this hard in our city council's up our butt about moving these vagrants out. We've done a really great job, and here's what we're doing, but they're just right here in this area. And you guys are contracted to deal with this little area right here, and we're not allowed to go over there and move them along.
Right.
Does that relationship exist? And if it doesn't, is there somebody on your staff that could foster that relationship?
Specifically, it does not exist right now. It definitely is a good idea. In the past, I've not been on the road quite a long time, but I used to have relationships when you work the road with their officer that worked there, and that's kind of how the relationships work. Now, there could be a lower level relationship going on, but not necessarily from our point, but that's something we need to look into for sure. Where are you seeing them specifically?
Eglin and Yacht Club, Eglin and Hughes, mainly. Also Beal and Hughes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something we can look into.
Thank you, Jim.
Mr. G.
Major Hayes, I just want to say thank you, because we see a difference, just like you. We hear a difference in the community, so whatever you guys are doing is definitely working. So, 100%, thank you. Back to the cameras, though. Are you guys, is someone from your department, I'm assuming, is in touch with IT, and y'all are making sure y'all can watch these cameras, and y'all are all collaborating? Because y'all already have a camera system now. What's it called, Fuchsius or Fusion? Or?
Well, that's what the citizens can get, and we can feed into their cameras.
Yeah, and there's
We
about
have
how
that
many of those
system.
out? 70, was there like 60 or 75 roughly, maybe, I thought?
Give or take.
And y'all can see those live now, so it helps y'all.
Correct.
If you're chasing somebody, fighting a crime, the cameras help y'all. So I just want to make sure y'all are collaborating, and it's all going to kind of mesh together. That way you're not going back and forth from software to
Right.
software trying to watch different cameras, because that's a huge...
Now, generally the cameras are monitored by COM, they're in the communication center. They've got a wall of cameras that they can watch, and they can actually plug in all the city's camera,
Yeah.
pull them up. I look at the cameras on my phone, actually,
Yeah.
within the city, yeah. So there's other people monitoring, but the primary monitors are the communications officers.
But y'all love them. They help.
Sir?
Y'all love them, I'm assuming. The cameras?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's very helpful. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Barry? Thank you. Garner's Beach, I've been hearing a lot of activity, and I'm seeing a lot of activity, trafficking, drugs.
Yeah. Well, Garner's Beach has always been a problem. We address it. I haven't specifically heard of an uptick in problems with that, but I'm not saying it's not happening. That's something that can definitely get somebody on. What are you seeing specifically?
We do not. We also have, we can utilize some trail cameras too as well, just for temporary, and they've done that at the skate park and some places like that before we had some heavy vandalism. We've put some trail cameras up in some of the trees and stuff, and you can catch some of the stuff there.
Well, I'm on Honors Beach, and also, it's a public beach, a city-owned public beach. Are private boats allowed to dock there overnight and stay there and live there?
They can in the water. We can't do anything about that, but they can't pull up on the shore. They're not supposed to do that.
You might look into.
We've got a few pictures of during the day, they're bringing a dinghy to shore and leaning up against the fence. But the sailboat that I've got pictures of stays out in the water anchored up.
A sailboat. I think there's a second one.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Yeah, I would like to just kind of add what Mr. Jeter was saying. Really appreciate y'all being a key stakeholder, you know, as well as too, my understanding with the resources from Bridgeway and our CRA staff, really working together, again, to try to not only continue to clean it up, but to make it a better place to live, work, and play. But while we're all the key stakeholders in this room and it's a business meeting, to kind of get back to what Mr. Mead was saying and just to bring some clarity, and again, if I'm misinterpreting any of this, you know, I think we can have a case-by-case basis, and this isn't really directed straight towards you, Major Hayes, but the cameras on Sound Park, talking back in December, ready, set, go, let us know what you need to execute that with the lighting at Sound Park. While having a separate project of lighting up Ferry Park, and now I understand too, we're hearing from, you know, Ms. DeBerry on, you know, wanting to add cameras to now Garner's, you know, but whatever, while all the key stakeholders in the room, so that we're not having some of the same conversation 3 months from now, let us know what we need to do from a proposal standpoint, and Mr. Peters, if we need to have another business meeting a month and a half from now or something to get review from the board to support some of these proposals. Because like Mr. Jeter was saying, I know IT has to communicate with police to execute these things that we're talking about. Right. And, you know, through some of the questions that were asked up here, I know we're communicating regularly on a lot of things, but more specifically on this scope of lighting it up and having cameras. Right. Let us know what we need to do, staff, on from a proposal standpoint, cost, time, and effort to help execute these things. And lighting at Ferry Park, we don't have to have cameras and lighting at every park while we wait to do the same programs. But lighting up Ferry Park, one of the most major used parks probably in the county, if not, you know, the north part of the state, a lot of great things that we all love, whatever we need to do to light it up. Any other questions or comments?
Comment, make it easy. It seems to me that the only way that we're going to get anything done in a reasonable amount of time, or a pace that I guess maybe is acceptable to us up here, is to tell them exactly what we want and give them a time that they have to have it done by, and be very clear about that. Because I don't want to come back in here and have a conversation in 6 months about another analysis of 6 months. If we want lighting, we need to tell them we want lighting right now, and we expect you to bring us back a cost analysis by this meeting. You know, asking what they need and leaving it open-ended, and for, well, maybe they meant this, maybe they meant that, talking about us and our direction to them, I think all it does is expand the amount of time. So we as a board need to be very clear on what we have as an expectation and when we want that expectation back. I understand about all the costs and everything like that. You guys worry about what you control, we'll worry about what we control. Get us the cost, we'll figure it out then. We just need some of that stuff. And, you know, I mean, I'm looking at this, and the date on it was May 9th, and I remember the last time we were in here was December. I don't want another 5 or 6 months to go by before we're having this conversation, and John has to run for council again, so he's on here when everything gets done.
So let's do.
So you're saying,
motion, or
you're saying set a SMART goal.
I'm not saying that. I will never say that. But, you know, you guys do a great job. These programs are great. And, you know, it's never going to be fast enough for me. I promise you that. And I don't want you guys to take that as a negative thing. I just want you to take that as a positive thing, that these things are so good that I want them and I want them now. And, you know, I understand that we can't have everything now, but if there's pieces that we want now, we need to be very clear on the pieces that we do want and an expectation of when it's going to be done by or brought back to us, so then we can do our part and then direct them to go implement these things.
I completely agree. Mr. Peters has got a great idea on using existing light poles to shed light on both sides. May not be as aesthetically appealing or pleasing, but let's talk about it next meeting.
Step one, by next meeting on the 25th of June, we will have a plan in place for you all.
Perfect. We can go to United Lighting.
Yep.
We can say, hey, these are our lights, come down and see our light fixtures. Give us an idea on lights instead of going straight up the shed to the both directions on the sidewalk. And I know that we won't have time to have an analysis, but you've got all the talent, so maybe between the two of you and United Lighting,
we'll take
y'all
care
can
of it.
come up with a way to enhance those lights, and then maybe we can make an exception not to have a competitive bidding process, so we can keep the, you know, shop local and keep those things going. If it's cameras, maybe we buy some dummy cameras and put them on First Street until we come up with a full plan. I think they're probably inexpensive from Amazon, but if you're looking from a nod from us to keep things moving, I completely agree with Mr. Smith, and I look forward to next meeting talking about Ferry Park.
Mr. Walker?
Couple things. Mr. Allegretto brought up what I thought was a really good idea of the test. Here at it, I don't know how long we want to test. Mr. Jeter at one time made a request for statistics of crimes or incident reports out at one hopeful place. That was very enlightening to see. And then we can have a basis to judge, you know, if we spend $250,000 on lights, was it to stop 4 complaints of someone sleeping on a bench? Were there actual crimes going on? Such things. And we have to, I mean, you know, and another recent email we always see regarding lighting, we know that there can be, I forget what they call it, not infiltration, but there on Brook Street, there's a new lighting scheme there on one of the businesses, and I know that came up, and some of the neighbors were complaining of the, you know, up on their house and in their bedroom lights and in their yard. And so, you know, with Ferry Park being, you know, so close to those residents, we, by all means, I like, you know, getting someone local, maybe putting them in there, and then, but I can also understand the site analysis that goes, hey, you know, only these lights that don't disperse out into the community. So, you know, it's like, man, if we don't do a site analysis and we just throw these lights up and it bleeds over into the community or into the neighborhoods, you know, someone's going to be upset and they'll be looking at us. Well, you're the ones that did. But again, I like the study time analysis, how many were going on. I don't know, I mean, Ferry Park to be lit, yeah, it'd be nice. And I don't know when those come on, but do we have a crime statistics report for Ferry Park? Are there incidents report, other than dogs? Other than dogs, there's dogs.
I don't have it with me, but I can get it.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see, you know, whether it's vagrants, you know, someone was following me, harassing me, whatever those reports are out there, because, you know, that would be helpful to see. I mean, if it's like this, then maybe it would justify a larger expense instead of a, you know, smaller expense. So just looking at the data that supports, you know, lighting and or cameras.
And you know what, you did address that, thank you, I appreciate it. You did address that, that's part of the site, when I do the site analysis, a part of it is, I get a criminal report. And one of the things I am going to be doing is, as we move, I got a benchmark on what I'm working like at Sound Park. Okay, I've gotten the criminal reports for Sound Park. I've got a benchmark. Now I can, so, okay, we're doing this, so what are we go, like when I did with the golfing. You know, we had a benchmark, we knew what was happening, and then once we installed the security cameras, we had a definite report on the improvement. So I am working on that, but I have to start, you know, at a benchmark and go from there.
Just to kind of go off of what you're saying, Mr. Walker, I think spot on, and I also too believe that between the United specialist of lighting, the guy that sells that product, and Jeff's analysis, when they meet to discover the different surrounding homes and those kind of things, giving them confidence, because I just want to make sure we leave here with clarity while still bringing up some of these things that we need to be sensitive to with the neighboring folks. Not saying we don't have much trust in your evaluation or analysis, but you said it a little while ago, it takes time. It takes time. I want to make sure we leave here with clarity, and Mr. Peters just mentioned that recommendation a while ago. Let's stick with that by June 25th. What Mr. Mead put very nicely, those guys and that team of specialists are going to evaluate the surrounding neighbors and the homes. And if we do get a whole bunch of complaints, I'm confident in our folks from United and Jeff figuring out another plan to change the lighting. But please leave here with clarity, and if we need to make any more action through emotion, we can of moving forward with the lighting by June 25th and bringing it back. Mr. Allegretto?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would say that I think the best plan is probably in the middle of kind of what everybody was saying, which is usually where the best plan is. I agree strongly with Mr. Smith that we need to provide some direction and action for it and what we want. I like Mr. Peters' idea that by the 25th, hey, we'll have a better idea once we have these things in. Because I think a lot of the problems at Ferry Park would be solved if we just had adequate lighting in the lighting that was there. Like when I go walk the dog at night there, it seems like some of the lights are on and they're bright, other lights are on and they're not bright. And if those lights were all bright and all the same, how they're supposed to be, it would probably be pretty good. Now that's not to say that we wouldn't want a full set-head analysis done on the park, because also there are environmental challenges there. There are bushes and overgrown things where people could potentially hide. Whether the crime statistics say it or not, I'm a pretty big dude. I felt a little creeped out walking through there several times at night with a large dog. Like, just what's going on in the dark areas of this park. And I know it's a big park, and I don't expect us to light it all up. But to summarize, I want to talk more about this. I want to give some action steps, but I do like the idea of, hey, we'll get all this together on the 25th, put it on the agenda, come back to you guys, and then maybe by that time as well, you could have it mapped out to where a set-head analysis could be scheduled for the park. Not where it's done, but where it's scheduled. Hey, I'll have this done by August 31st, or, I know that might be quick, but this is something that's really important to our board and our community, because it is our largest park in the city, and it is used by a ton of residents, and it is used at all hours of the day. That's good. So thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Well, we'll verify, number one, if there are any light poles that are out, and two, which ones are the low, so ones that aren't burning real bright, we can get those replaced. That's an immediate fix.
It's good. It's good.
And then we can see how much brighter it gets.
Mr. Mead?
So I agree, like usual. I'm fine with starting with the pilot program with the cameras with our first park, and then moving from there. If we're looking for consensus, I would agree with your direction. And I also agree with the reasoning for Ferry Park. Sorry to go back to it. I tried to go run there with my daughter one night, and she was too scared because it was dark, somebody sitting on a bench, scared her. And so it brought in, Mr. Jeter would know better than us about the lighting over there, or at least me. So I don't want it for crime prevention. I don't know what the crime issues are over there. I'm saying it because it's a great place for people to walk at night, especially when it gets dark early and we need more lighting. That's why I'm asking for it.
That's good. That's good. Mr. Jeter?
Yeah, Ferry Park needs lights, camera, action.
You would get that. I will say,
I agree.
I'm sorry. I will say this, that there are ways we can just say, and I can say, every light needs to be at this lumen. And then they can automatically do that and fix that. And the term you were looking for is called light pollution. And you're 100% correct. Everybody wants things lit up, but once it is, they're like, well, wait a second, this is too bright. So that is something you have to look at, where the lights are shining. That would come in with analysis. But we can just say all lights need to be this lumen and at this level, and make sure the trees are pulled back. But I will work on that and get with it. Like I said, I love SEPTED, this is my baby, I'm very happy about it, and I love the fact that y'all love it, but it's just a portion of what I have to do as a CRA director, so I am, or administrator, so I am kind of overloaded, but I will do what I can. The proposal I will put in for some assistance, I will get that to y'all too, to help with the analyses and the maintenance and things like that, so I will get that to you also. Okay.
Do we need a motion to start with the cameras and a timeline to try to implement the cameras? Is that what we were? Does anybody need anything from us to keep moving?
We can get a motion on the 25th. What we'll do is we'll get an update, lights out, what we're doing by the 25th, and then we can make a motion on that date.
And you're saying that for both Sound Park and Ferry Park?
The sound part's done.
Yeah, Sound Park.
The cameras are done.
Yeah, I'm gonna notify next week the company that.
We'll bring you the date of the light.
Basically, the lighting issue is what we're going to talk about on the 25th at Ferry Park. Perfect.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I'll do my best to try to have a complete analysis of Ferry Park at that time. I'll do my best.
I'm not going to hold you to that. I think you have said you're overloaded, we get it, but I think the expectation is we don't want the whole thing. We'll start with the lighting plan and then we can go from there. If we just have the lighting plan and a minimum, I think everybody up here is going to be happy.
If you can share the lumens, maybe you can go to United Lighting. Maybe. I'm not minimizing it. I'm being serious. If you can share what the minimum is, maybe Mr. Peters can go and discuss it with them.
We'll do.
Thank you. I'll move on. I know we're probably going short on time. Is everything okay with me moving on?
Yeah, let's move forward.
I didn't want to jump
Yeah,
forward.
we're good. I think
Real
we really, that was some very good clarity, and I appreciate that conversation, y'all. Let's go.
Thank you. Real quick, I just want to let y'all know, I did do a site analysis for the AXO property because that is city property and there have been some major issues there. And I've got that done and we can look forward on that one, but it's not a priority, but there are some things that need to be done at AXO that I'm working on. We've addressed the community policing program. Completed projects, just want to run over those real quick. The marketing fence on Perry Avenue, it looked great. Then a wonderful storm came through and tore up the fence and pulled things off. The fence has been fixed and we've put in a work order to get the wrap put back up. The Decatur street signs, they are completed. Regarding SEPTED projects, a letter was sent out to all the multifamily housing units within the city limits telling them of the requirements. I have only had 3 companies call me back, and none of them were in CRA district. So we'll see how that goes. We've already gone over the sound part and the improvements to the gazebo and all that's completed and lighting is ordered. So projects in process, we've discussed the Carson Drive traffic calming. Public Works is converting the Carson Drive and 3rd Street into a 4-way stop. They're going to be putting the signs out and there's some procedures they have to go through to get the public used to that. And a speed bump will be installed as soon as possible. Library information tower. The tower was installed and electrical connected. We've had some problems with, first it took me forever to get approval from the county to use their Wi-Fi. We got their approval, but now we've realized their Wi-Fi does not reach the tower. So now we've got to figure out a way to get the Wi-Fi boosted. If we can't find a way to get it boosted, then we're going to have to do cellular service at that tower. The software training, I've been trained, and today Devin was trained on the software. There's some programs with it that we're going to have to get loaded, and he and I are going to be working closely on getting all that information ready so we can get the tower up and active. Library Park, y'all can see the mural is up in progress. Very excited about that. Did you want to address or talk about the park?
Yeah, so Library Park, obviously, we've been in some discussions with the owners of the property about the insurance. As of 2:30 p.m. today, Terry and I were on the phone on a conference call with somebody from our side that we're trying to figure out some ways. It sounds like we can get some things worked out with the family. I met with them individually about 2 weeks ago, and they've got some things they want in the lease document, but it looks like we'll be able to work it out. So we'll hopefully have all that done and signed by the 25th as well.
We've also found some SEPTED friendly, unique furniture to be put out there that's going to be very unique to the area and to Florida. I don't know if anybody in Florida has that kind of furniture, so it's going to be really kind of unique. And I'm very excited about that and bringing that out and getting that part going. That's
We'll
good.
have some update, and I know most of you probably seen the murals. We have some updates at the 6 o'clock meeting. We'll put up on the screen for you all.
All right, we have worked on the downtown design guidelines. The contract has been awarded to Kimberly Horn for the design, downtown designs. We are having a community outreach survey done, and schedule has been established for the first charrette for this community meeting. It's scheduled for June 20th. It's going to be at the Gulf View at 5:30 to 7:30. That's going to be a charrette for the community. We will be doing an information blast out. Ashley Zukowski's already done a flyer. It's going to get it out to the chamber, and we're going to get that blasted out to get the community involved. So when that gets out, if y'all would, share it with as many people as you can. The wayfinding system, I'm sorry, any questions?
Yeah, just real quick on that blast out thing. This is something that we've not done a great job at in the past. I have a lot of confidence in you to do a great job on this now. Are we sending that to business owners downtown specifically? Like to their business to say like, hey, here's something that's going on. You're probably going to be interested in this.
The best thing we can do is get out to all the emails that we have, and that's the best way to do it, and go through the chamber and go through the downtown organization. Also going through my Cultural Arts League, and also everybody that has come to the quarterly stakeholder meetings. We can only send it to people that we have information for. I'm not able to actually go and hand them out to everybody and all the businesses. If that's what y'all want me to do, and you want me to go out or get somebody to go out and hand deliver it to all the businesses,
I don't want you to do it.
you want to?
But maybe there might be somebody else that.
Well, I mean, yes, that does make sure, because
I'm only asking because I just want to make sure that everybody's involved as much as possible. You know, there's business owners, there's building property owners down there that, you know, might not participate or have not participated in the past, that might love to participate in this and might have really great ideas and great input. And we want all those people involved. So if we just rely on the same lists and the same ways that we've done it in the past, I would be a little cautious of that.
For sure, and so one of the things we talked about today too was delivering them to businesses around downtown, like we did a town hall workshop about 2 years ago for the density down there, and we actually walked a lot of the downtown area. This charrette next week is a community-wide charrette. Actually, it's not just limited to residents or businesses or property owners of downtown. So this one actually just got the information together just at the end of the day today too, that we're going to put on all of our social media, because this is a community-wide one open to everybody. Following this, in the next 12 months, July and then into the fall, we're going to do stakeholder meetings, and those will have targeted mailings and information to every property and business owner downtown. So kind of a multi-step process. Like I said, the charrette's going to be the kind of the wide net here, so that's why we're not sending this one to the mail specific properties, but we will do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Along those lines, I'm not on social media. I've never been on social media. I just don't. So I lose a lot of those types of communication. Can we harness emails from water bills that may go to tenants, emails from tax collectors if they have them for any property owners for tax bills, to try to target all the property owners and tenants through our target areas?
We can check into the tax bills. I haven't explored that option in the past. Water bills, absolutely. Now the timing, there's a pretty long lead time to get scheduled for availability on the bills and all. So not necessarily for next week, but we can certainly look at that going forward and for future kind of community meetings. We also, one of the reasons that we were working on finalizing it today is because we were sending it to the chamber to get it in their newsletter. They do their newsletter blast. So we were getting it finalized today and over to them today to get in their next newsletter email. We can definitely do water bills. We can definitely look into the tax collector or others as well. Don't know offhand, we haven't asked, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
I don't know it to be the case, but at least, I know kind of a broader thing that I'm sorry about, but either way, if we could harness the email addresses from our water bills and other to be able to communicate with the residents, I think that'd be real helpful. Because
definitely see if we can get.
As a non-social media person, other than reading the agendas and interacting with staff, I don't always feel a lot of communication. So.
Yeah, I can definitely see if we can get that, if we can get like a listing of all the email addresses and water bills and all. That's what we're planning to do with all our registries. Like Lisa said, with the Cultural Arts League, with the Downtown Association, we're going to do all the last, every contact list we have, we're going to send out to as well here this week.
Mr. Walker?
Mr. Chair. Chris, sounds to me in my world a little bit like a marketing campaign. Sure. I mean, that's what.
promotion of a specific.
It is, and then with Kimberly Horn being awarded the contract, is this the $125,000 one?
Yes.
Okay. So city staff is tasked with getting the word out to come to Kimberly Horn's meeting or events, is that correct? Kimberly Horn's not heading up the marketing effort.
Right, we do
She
the
doesn't talk to us.
public, we do the public notice for it.
Right.
You know, we partner with them, where we have a review meeting actually later this week to go over the documents. They'll provide all the posters, handouts, flyers, everything, you know, to run the meeting. We'll be there, obviously, as well. They'll facilitate the meeting, but we are responsible for the public notice part. They have offered to help me with the discussions with them.
Thank you. Most every question up here, comment has been about the outreach to the community and with it being a marketing effort. I've done a number of those, and there's a calendar of events, right? That meeting, these emails to the chamber, mail, you mentioned some will get mailed out. For some of the events, there will actually be a first class or government postage mailing out to the property owners, right?
Yes.
So do you already have that schedule, marketing schedule
We do.
close to, you already have it in place?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Could you share that with us?
Yeah, I can absolutely get you guys a copy of it.
I think that would help.
For sure, yeah, we were just working on finalizing it in the last couple weeks here.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walker. Any other questions before moving on? All right, anything else, Ms. Alicia?
I just have one more thing to let y'all know. We are working on the wayfinding. We had a wayfinding study done. We're moving forward with getting the wayfinding signs up. And we're working on the RFP for that to get a contract out and get that bid out to do our wayfinding program. So that is also in the works. But that is about all I have for y'all.
Mr. Barry?
How about the Gulf View update?
Yes.
Did you, the update, did you mention that?
And I didn't have that in there. The Gulf View, that was not on part of my work. I didn't know. I thought y'all were gonna add it.
6.1.
Yeah, what we're doing with the Gulf View, Mr. Berry, is you all approved the painting last time. We're in the process of getting that, the whole Gulf View, the whole exterior painted. We're still working on some elevator, different scenarios maybe. It is required, a lift can be in there. There's a difference in an elevator and a lift, so we're kind of working on the difference. A full-blown elevator is extremely expensive, but it can utilize the lift as well. So we're looking at some, I don't know that the one that we have there is repairable, so we're looking at some options to replace that lift with what we have in there. So we don't have that cost yet. We got to get a couple of different quotes and different scenarios that'll work, but the paint is moving forward.
Yeah, and I know the paint is, the elevator, I really wanted to, because I want it to be ADA compliant. I know we have the ADA,
The ramp.
the ramp,
Right.
but there's nothing for those that need to go upstairs.
As soon as we get, and we won't, as soon as we get that, I can forward that in an email to everybody. When we get some quotes and what the best course of action to bring to council, we can give you a heads up as soon as we get it.
Have they considered one of those chair rail things that you're about the chair up on rails in the staircase?
I don't know that, but I've seen those in the movies.
I've seen them.
All right. Anybody else have any further questions on this agenda item for the CRA quarterly update? Ms. Alicia, thank you for the update. Major Hayes and your team, I really appreciate it. Like Mr. Jeter mentioned a little while ago, I mean, whether it's the Bridgeway, our key stakeholders, the public safety, staff, it's really about trying to support what our common goals are, which is in our strategic plan, which point back to that. And right now, our strategic plan is what our strategic plan is. So we really appreciate y'all coordinating these new lifts, or what I heard a little while ago from this side of the board, we may be up your butt, but I like the more couches. We're more supporting you. And supporting y'all on
Thank you.
making sure that we're all doing this, and again, with tandem of Bridgeway and our folks, that if you need help, we're here to help. But if you don't need help, we're not doing that here. We're not going to be a vagrant and more crime and more business behind us, whatever it was, Circle K or, those kind of things. So thank you all while we're all in the room, and hopefully it's continued to be discussed around the coffee pot and in our staff meetings about you have a counselor, you have a CRA board that is wanting to support and help fund if needed and figure out where to get funding from to support our strategic plan and strategic goals. What we heard tonight from y'all as well as on the side of the board, we can all see improvements in the different areas. Now we have a core value at the city of continuous improvement, right?
Yes.
So let's continue to improve it. So thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We had an added agenda item before we adjourned. Let's call it a 6.2. Mr. Peters, I go ahead and kick this off unless if you want to. Okay. All right. Wanted to bring this up, 6.2, which was Mr. Allegretto came right after. We just added to the agenda an update on the CRA plan. Talking with Mr. Peters in his office, as well as some property owners as well. I think it's just time. We've discussed this with previous administration, but I think it's just time to get an updated CRA plan. We as board members, maybe some are more familiar with it than others, but wanted to discuss that with y'all. If y'all had any questions, as well as Mr. Peters and your staff, anything to add to that. And then after our conversation, to Mr. Smith's point, given some clarity and given that through emotion. So, Mr. Peters, anything?
No, I know you and I have met downtown a few times with some different, Chris can give us an update too, but I know we've done a few things downtown that have, some of the business owners and down there have been real excited, as you've seen with the library cut through and some things that have helped in the murals and things. But as far as the actual plan, Chris can kind of highlight on that, but we're at a starting point process where things are getting done, so there's some excitement.
For sure.
So it's time to kind of, jump on that and move forward with it too.
Absolutely. Definitely excited.
You must have read Lisa and I's minds on that, because in working through our budget process for the CRA budget for next fiscal year, we included funding for the CRA plan update. Best practice is about every 5 or 6 years to reevaluate, do an update of the plan. And this year right now is year 5 of the current plan. So when we're working through it, we are proposing to budget funding for a plan update in there. Because, like I said, projects have been completed, times have changed, priorities have changed, evolved. So in my time in the city, just about every 5 to 6 years, we do go through, review and update the plan. And that time is now, in our opinion, to go forward with it.
Well, that's great to hear, because like you said, Mr. Peters, we're all excited. Mr. Payne, did you have or Mr. Welker, did you have a question?
I will when it's
okay.
ready.
Yeah, I thought you were signaling.
No, sorry.
All right. Any other questions on the dais or anything else?
Sure, I do. I just, where's the current plan? Is it somewhere we can physically see it? Is it on the website?
It is.
Yes.
It's on the website.
Yes.
And then, with the other 125 study that's about to be done around the mound, and then we've set aside some additional funding of designing and whatnot. So, what would you say as chairman of the CRA of the plan right now? What kind of big items are we seeing forthcoming from a new plan?
That's a great
Then he
question.
said funding for a new plan. I'm like, well, hold on. Are we doing it up here, or is there going to be required funding for a new study to update? Because that's, if we've got to fund one, maybe we wait till the 125 and the 50 spent on the around the mound. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of paying for more plans or studies, but I think the reason why we need to get the key stakeholders together is for the exact reason why you asked the question. We have a lot of different things going on, whether it's DOT programming, landing, a lot of things that we're excited about. But also too, in our recent agenda item, we heard about some marketing campaigns or maybe getting some email content and filling that a little bit more besides just talking with staff. And Mr. Allegretto mentioned about some things that we've done maybe not as good in the past, but we could do better. I think it's just time to include property owners with our staff and with our resources and making sure we're giving them clarity of what do we, not we as a board and elected officials or CRA appointed board members, but what do we, as the property owner, all the key stakeholders, what do we want the plan to be? And I don't think right now we have very much clarity. Because there's a lot going on, and we need to update our plan, is to respond to that.
What if we come back middle of August as a board, we all review the plan, and we just propose amendments to the plan?
I mean,
And
I
then we can-
definitely want to go, I mean, I know this was added late and whatnot, but I've not spent, I mean, in my years leading up to now, I spent time looking at it, and I was looking for specifics. I didn't look at it on the big picture, so if it's, going to include such things as marketing plans, stakeholders, identifying property owners, and that kind of stuff, that's, the administrative part of it. And then the big picture stuff, are we gonna add a new this or that, or whatever?
All of that.
Okay, all of that. So
And-
yeah, I want to spend some time looking at it. It's a great suggestion. I think we say we come back, all look at it between now and then, and be ready to maybe some of our own. And I don't know what kind of funding, you talked about funding, what kind of dollars are we talking about for funding an updated CRA plan?
Sure, we're expecting somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000 for a CRA plan update.
So I think the timing is right, because before, if we do include it in the budget and it is approved in the budget, giving them clarity now, and I love Mr. Mead's input on bringing us back whatever that status update is of the plan in August, but giving our staff and some key stakeholders some clarity of making sure. I think it's important that our city attorney, city manager, and those property owners are all meeting, so that by August we have a better status update, besides just another great presentation 3 months later and then we bring something back 3 months later. I don't think tonight we should be developing any plan right here. That's not what the objective is to, while that red light's on, us have this conversation we're having right now, so that we can work with our city attorney, city manager, their office, our property owners, and our key stakeholders to bring us back a status update of what we want the plan to be. Could the plan include the updated architectural review? Because in meeting with Mr. Glenn and Valerie Wenzel, just sharing with me some things that they had on the CRA board of some, that our staff has access to, of some architectural review plans. Meeting with, these folks just didn't mind and wanted me to mention, them, but, Tom Tona and Jamie Neighbors and other property owners, to not limit them. I know we have property owners in the room, and to not limit them, but I think we need to answer some of those questions that you asked. Where is it? What are we doing with this fixture or this density or with this architectural review? Because we got a lot going on inside of our CRA and inside of our city that we're all excited about, that we can hopefully better architect and better put together if all key stakeholders continue to work together. And especially, I love the fact that the staff is already in the budget process wanting to put that money aside for that. And I guess this question's for you, Chris. How do you feel about getting those key stakeholders by working in tandem with, with your office as we pay, or if that is approved in the budget for that CRA plan?
Oh, absolutely. That's the goal of it. I mean, that's, really, it's an involved process, and the state statute for CRAs is long, and it's changed a lot over the years, even when we talk about, priorities and what can be in there. Really, the main key point to understand for anybody, about CRAs is that anything we spend money on the CRA within a CRA boundary has to be identified in the plan. And that's one of the things that, as these programs change, when we, if it's something that you all bring to us, or we think of, or the public brings to us, we have to look at it against the plan. If it's not in the plan, we can't fund it unless we amend the plan and add it to the plan. That's one of the things that currently, at least I were looking at, even regarding some of the SEPTED and public safety, is that there's some small references in there that we're pulling from, but really that was a topic that wasn't brought up in 2018-19. It's changed. So that's where we started talking about, we probably need to amend the plan to add those, but when we started looking at it, said, it really needs to be looked at big picture wise. But having the public meetings, similar to the design guidelines, is that we're planning, we would plan to have public meetings, city council workshops, city council interviews, one-on-one interviews with you all to get your input, stakeholder interviews. That's what we did. We've done in the past, similar to what we're doing. We're going to be doing through the summer and fall into the design guidelines. Will be that same thing. We want to hear people's input. It's not for us, to say everything that should be in that plan, for sure.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Chris, because we're doing a lot of that already organically with, last year when I went to the Gulfview Motel stakeholder meeting, or the different, the different things that are happening, but really giving some clarity and some really empowerment to bringing us back in August that updated status report of what you want to include or what we need to include if the ask in the budget is a CRA plan that's going to cost X amount of dollars. I think the timing is right to empower and give y'all clarity on getting some key stakeholders together to be a part of that and bringing us back an update in that August meeting. And again, if not trying to run really fast through this, but time is running out for a lot of us on this board, and including myself, and I want to empower while at the same time work with staff while not, expecting too much too fast. How does that sound, Chris?
Sure, for sure. Yeah, we can definitely have those conversations, start looking at it, for August. It's, that's the start of the process. It's, like I said, trying to kind of prioritize, all that, realizing in mind, that Lisa is our person. So when it's SEPTED or everything else, it falls on her and my assistants to help her through these processes. So we can definitely, that's part of why we want to start that process and budget for it and really kind of plan this out, because just keeping in mind, we are also working through the downtown design guidelines between me, Lisa, and Tim on the planning side as well. We're leading up that project, which
a lot going on.
is on their way
a lot
at the
of
same
different
time.
moving pieces.
So,
yeah, and I would love to continue to hear that, especially with more of the folks that are more included in owning the dirt. And I think they would love to hear those things and continue to hear those things, and it'd be a win-win, Mr. Walker.
I love hearing these conversations because I get to figure out how things work, and I agree, lots going on. We got a 125 study going on, and I know it. Downtown stakeholders, what do you want? What do you get to design? There's some design features, and we've talked about the roads or whether it's architectural and that kind of stuff. So that's part of Kimberly Horn already going on. And then you mentioned we can't spend any CRA money unless it's in the plan. But then you mentioned amending. I mean, we can amend the CRA plan next meeting, right?
It's a process. It has to go through reviews. I mean, it has to be submitted to the state. Yes, we can certainly do it. Here and now, it would probably take 2 months, or so.
It takes about 2 months to amend the CRA plan. But
Roughly, yes. I mean, from
if
the time
we
it starts
review
the
the current
process.
one in place and go,
So-
first of all, if I'm reviewing it, I'm just trying to visualize what I'm going to do between. So I could go and look at the plan. I just imagine everyone else has as well, and you go, well, that's not done yet. That's not done yet. Do we still want to do that? Do we still want to do that? Yes, we do. And so it sounds like, it feels to me as though there's duplication of money when we're talking about a 125 for Kimberly Horn. And I don't know exactly what they're
I'm saying they're not, just for clarification, those are totally separate documents, plans. What the design guidelines has is no bearing or impact on the CRA plan. The CRA plan is required statutorily, has certain criteria, check marks you must do within that plan. Doesn't address architectural guidelines. Architectural guidelines is for our downtown, a specific boundary within downtown. The CRI is much larger. CRI goes all the way to Wright Parkway, all the way up to Uptown Station, and everywhere in between. It's a much larger, statutory, process and plan, whereas the design guidelines are something optional that we're doing in accordance with our downtown master plan. So I know it's a lot of money here and there, different consultants, but they really are separate documents. They all relate to each other. I've got between my small team of Elisa and Tim and myself really working on all of these things, but they're not a duplication of efforts.
So Kimberly Horn study that's done, and once it's completed, feedback on all of the contents that are going to come out, that is it reasonable to believe that some of the information from that study would be good data to either input directly to the CRA plan? No.
It's really more of a supplemental to our land development code. If you think of it that way, the design guidelines is going to be, it could be a chapter or a supplemental document to the land development code on the planning side. Really doesn't have a whole bunch to do with the CRA plan unless, we wanted to say we're going to do CRA grants, like we do facade streetscape grants now for businesses. We could say that, hey, if you maybe do improvements in accordance with the design guidelines, we'll give you a grant for that. So they can interact with each other, but it really falls more on the land development code side and the planning side than in CRA.
Thank you. I'm gonna
Yep.
take Mr. Mead's advice and study that CRA plan and look for it. And I just, internally, I just $100,000 for redoing the CRA plan. When I, as one council member alone, maybe I'm the slow one in the group, but I've just not studied it and seen what is due for an update, other than saying it's due for an update because of time.
Sure, and there's certain things in there that, that are identified in the plan that aren't allowed now per statute. There's marketing efforts, there's some, supporting of community events, things like that, that are identified in the plan. Well, we're not allowed to do that anymore. It's, and on the flip side, then there's not much emphasis or discussion at all when it comes to community policing and SEPTED. So that's where we have to, really need to fine-tooth comb to go through and say, okay, yeah, these items, they're not allowed, we just need to remove them from the plan, but hey, we need to add these other items to the plan. We try to include everything we can possibly think of, honestly, when we come through that process, because, we don't want to get into the situation that, oh man, we can't do something that, is a priority now, here and now. But in this case, a lot has actually changed over the last 5-6 years with the state, with the legislature, and that's why, that's honestly what we were talking about, is saying it's time, to do it.
Well, speaking of time, I appreciate that, Ms. Frazzetti. And again, that's the same reason why I brought it up tonight, to get it out on the agenda. It's because we need to get familiar with it. And leaving here with some clarity, and I appreciate that feedback, and while you're reviewing it from now until August, I would like to entertain or put out a motion for our city attorney, city manager, the CRA chair, and our CRA property owners to not limit it to those names that were mentioned earlier, to update our CRA plan and bring back a status update at our next CRA meeting. So what the intent of this motion is to, again, while we're studying or doing different things, getting our staff with the key stakeholders to get more, just like how this conversation we're having now with those other property owners. And as we get closer to that August meeting, budget cycle, as these decisions are being made about a CRA plan, but that's the motion. And if we have a second, we can continue more debate.
All right, second for discussion.
Mr. Jeter?
So what you're saying is you're not spending any money doing our study. You're just saying, you used the word earlier, organic. Organically, let's get with our large stakeholders that we need to accomplish any of these CRA plans that we're going to try to release.
That's it. I mean, I would imagine the only cost would be time from, Mr. Peters and however much time with Ms. Cobb. I mean, to meet with some of these key stakeholders. But no, not a substantial amount of cost of $100,000 or $50,000 or even, I would imagine,
so
a few hours of time and effort for getting the key stakeholders together, including property owners.
We're going to review the update the CRA plan come August, but we're also going to review with the stakeholders.
That's
by
it.
August.
A status update so that we're very specific on, by then in August, we've had a couple conversations, meetings with property owners, city attorney, city manager, CRA staff on different 125 plans, CRA plans, Department of Transportation, different things going on, and then bringing us back a status update at our next CRA meeting.
Would you mind repeating the
Yeah,
motion?
it's a very specific,
Yeah, right.
measurable, absolutely. City attorney, city manager, CRA chair, and CRA property owner. To not limit it to Tom Tona, Jamie Neighbors, Valerie and Glenn Wenzel. And again, to not limit it to that. To update our CRA plan and bring back a status update at our next CRA meeting.
Okay, so that's where I'm.
In August.
And that's where I'm confused.
Okay.
The motion to update the CRA plan, and he's budgeting $100,000 for updating the CRA plan.
To bring us back a status update of our next steps in updating the CRA plan.
Right.
Because especially after hearing staff is including or wanting to include in the budget to pay, and we have some decisions to be made on whether or not we want to pay that money for that cost to do that, I think we can get some really good feedback from city manager, these property owners, and our staff at our next August meeting to see what the status update of next steps in the CRA plan is.
That clarifies it for me, because I heard update the CRA plan, I'm like, hey, you can just tell them to do it, they do it, I'm good with that.
But I think we can tell them in these kind of environments to bring us back the next steps.
And not limiting it to those, but are we requesting that it is involving all property owners or just
Not excluding anybody.
not excluding anyone?
Absolutely. You know, these are just names that some that I've spoke with.
Well, I'm
that-
downtown too, and that's why I was.
And I can't speak with you. But yeah, that's why I wanted to specifically mention it, to not limit it to.
Sure.
But those are ones that through trying to get endorsed and get support from different property owners to be included in this process, after meeting with about 8 to 10 of them, there was 4 that wanted to say publicly, like, hey, yeah, let's figure out what we're doing and what our next steps are.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry.
John, if you, I was just gonna ask, so your motion is that you just want to say you, the city manager, the city attorney, all go meet with some property owners
To figure out what.
downtown before our August meeting, ask them some questions, what they like, dislike, et cetera, about the CRA, and not just downtown, because it's the CRA district, which goes from right to
Liza Jackson Park, yeah.
where, all over the place.
That's right.
Big area.
That's
So you guys will go out, meet with some people, and then come back and provide us an update at the August meeting.
That's it. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Thank you for putting that in my language.
Well,
It takes,
Mr. Mead, I'll support it, and candidly, one of my hopes is that if, after I do my homework, that perhaps we've got a plan that's 99% there, and after hearing the feedback, that we could maybe request staff to make some slight adjustments to the existing plan, and maybe we can use that $100,000 on things within the district, streetscape, lighting, whatever the case may be, but I'm hopeful that maybe there's just some slight tweaks where we can make it better, and we can retain those funds for improvement.
Yeah,
That'd be-
that makes sense.
that would be great if we can, with key stakeholders, update a plan without having to use that $100,000, absolutely. And again, I think that just summarized, as we move on and get ready to go to a vote, summarized it very nicely of why the intent was to bring it on the agenda and why the intent was to have this conversation. And as y'all all know, at some point, action has to be taken, and let's just get what next steps are through that. So let's call to a vote if there's no more questions or comments. All right, and it passes unanimously, and I guess Ms. Kopp, Mr. Peters, and staff, we can get together with, again, figuring out back marketing campaign of inviting different CRAs, property owners and things like that to get us a status update of next steps of the CRA plan. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Alicia.
I just want to clarify something. When it comes to final approval of the plan, because we get county money from it, it has to be approved through the county. It's not just approved through the city. County has to have approval on it also.
Yeah, and
Just want to clarify that.
yeah, let's invite them. Let's invite
And
them.
to be honest, they just want to see the plan at the end.
Awesome.
I wouldn't say invite them in the middle. I just say, I just wanted, somebody had said that we can just go ahead and approve it. Y'all will approve it, but it's not finalized until the county approves it.
Sounds good. All right, any other business? Mr. Allegretto? Mr. Barry? All right, Mr. Jeter?
No, sir.
Mr. Mead? Mr. Smith? Mr. Walker?
Yes, sir.
All right, meeting adjourned.